Hello, everybody across the globe, our, our audience that keeps growing and keeps appreciating what we do. We do this because we believe this is a very important point in time where the world is going to change the way we have known it for the past 50, 60 years. And it is Transition Protocol, August 18th. We have fantastic news for you that explains Trump's desperation, and nobody better than Pepe Escobar to do this. He's a globally recognized, globally respected, highly traveled, highly resourced journalist that you have seen on our channel and on other channels. He's a founding member of this channel. And the information that we bring to you today, I must say before I hand over the mic to him, is deeply sourced, deeply confirmed by people who are in the room. If you like what we do, please hit the like and subscribe button. Please go to our Substack channel. For a small fee of $5 a month, we will deliver twice a week this quality news to you. Go ahead, Pepe.
Thank you, Mr. Z. Hi, everybody all over the world. Yes, our growing global audience. That's very, very, very cool. We are still very, very young. Our channel has what, 2.5 months? Not more than
Not
that.
even that much. Not even
Even
that.
even less exactly. So it's quite impressive what we already have in terms of global audience in such a short period. Um, Allow me today to start in a more meditative mood. These are my last days in the countryside. I'm hitting the road again in early September, all over Asia. There are many places I want to go and I need to go. So these last few days here, uh, with my garden behind me, I have time to, during the day, think about the war that changes and is changing the 21st century. By the way, this is the title of my next book. My US publisher told me that we have a chance of publishing the book next month, September, which is quite something. And there will be, in the end, the past few essays, they are connected to what we learn on transition protocol. When I started on transition protocol, when we were called Power Shift, I was still on the road in Asia. I was between Shanghai, Moscow, and St. Petersburg. It's just like yesterday, but it was almost 3 months ago, literally. And yes, this is the war that is changing the 21st century. And many of us are extremely worried because we may be entering another escalation, another possibility of a long dark cloud coming down over all of us to the point of we are at a stage where the normalization of the use of nuclear weapons is actually being discussed in Washington among stalwarts of the Trump administration. This is as absolutely terrifying as the normalization of genocide, which, by the way, the genocide in Palestine was normalized by the whole collective fragmented West. And now we are in a similar terrifying process of finding ways to normalize the use of tactical nuclear weapons or even an unilateral nuclear weapon attack against a nation that does not have nuclear weapons, which is the case of Iran. So it is dark indeed, what may lie ahead. Of course, from our point of view, as analysts, as journalists, and receiving privileged information straight from the source. By the way, that's something that we are being criticized all over by people who have no clue whatsoever what it is to receive intel, compare intel, search for intel, source intel, discuss with people who are the bearers of good, bad, and intel news of absolutely every facet. So it comes with the territory. In my case, come on, I've been doing this game for over 40 years. It's not a big deal. I just wish people would pay attention to the information that we are relaying here, to the fact that really, really hardcore information, we need to ask more questions, have confirmation, reconfirmation. When we cannot reconfirm, we just put it into a larger context. And that's the case of the breaking news that we have today. I had time today to go through our latest intel report, and it is mesmerizing in its complexity, but at the same time, how we discern a pattern, a narrative. And unfortunately, this is leading to less and less options for the empire of chaos and piracy to find an off ramp with some dignity of a war that they started against Iran. And that makes them even more dangerous day after day. So, okay, the key of our report is a back channel that is, in fact, not a back channel. There was a channel that was started in May, which is only 3 months ago, by the Americans, by Tulsi Gabbard at the time. So this was in the second week of May. So only 3 months ago. Tulsi was authorized by Trump and by J.D. Vance to open an alternative communication channel with Iran. So she chose, or the people behind her, or let's say Intel conglomerate in DC, chose Iraqi Kurdistan for several reasons. Because the president of Iraqi Kurdistan, Barzani family, Nershivan Barzani, everything, but I'm sure all of you know that everything in Iraqi Kurdistan is controlled by the Barzani clan. The other clan is Talibani, but the ones who really rule are the Barzani clan. So this channel was opened between the Americans and Nershivan, so he could reach directly Ahmad Vahidi, the head of the IRGC. So, for starters, this proves to all of us that the Americans were already desperate to find a channel to talk to somebody with real power in the IRGC. Once again, they didn't have that kind of channel before. So, why not use Iraqi Kurdistan? They have good relations with the IRGC, even though Erbil, as I'm sure all of you know, is basically festering with CIA, MI6, and Mossad since 2003, and even before, for that matter, even before shock and awe. Anyway, Erbil is Viper's nest. But of course, in terms of organizing a channel to talk to the head of the ARGC, why not? In fact, and there are not many other. There were not many other channels, three something months ago. So this channel, after that, not much happened, and this channel may have been dormant, may have been under the radar, may have been dead, may have been in waiting, but the channel was already there. And guess what? The channel was resuscitated only a little while ago, once again by the Trump administration, coming directly from the White House. We don't know who at the White House resuscitated the channel, but the channel was resuscitated. And why? Because it was resuscitated as a plan B. And which was plan A? That's when things get really, really nasty. Plan A essentially was Trump trying to, okay, diplomatically speaking, seduce Field Marshal Assim Munir to convince Vahidi to talk to the Americans directly. I'm talking about a direct channel between the White House and the head of the IRGC, Ahmad Vahidi. For what? What the Americans do better than any, better no. The Brits invented it. So the Brits still do it better than anybody else. The Americans just copy it. Play, divide, and rule at the top of the Iranian government. But there is a slight, there is, and there will always be a slight problem with the American plan. This was engineered with the White House and the people around Trump believing that the guy to talk to would be Vahidi. And maybe they could pull a Venezuela on him, bribe him, install divide and rule, whatever. And obviously create a rift at the top. Obviously, nobody in the White House and around it, or even around the Beltway, was there to understand, or somebody would explain to them that the man to talk to is Mohsen Rezai. It's not Ahmad Vahidi. So the plan was put in motion before, of course, Mohsen Rezai was appointed by the leader, by Mustafa Khamenei himself, not only as the new secretary of the Supreme National Security Council, but also the personal representative of the supreme leader. So, for all practical purposes, Mohsen Rezai is the second most powerful character in Iran. Period. No competition. Ahmad Vahidi is much lower in the scale. He could be the fourth, the fifth, the seventh, but he does not care. He does not carry decision powers for top matters of state. This is an attribution falling directly under Mohsen Rezai. But while we had the United States Plan A in effect, the idea was to seduce Field Marshal Assim Munir to talk to Vahidi. Of course, they talk. They have a direct channel as well. And then the Americans would try to instill some ideas on Vahidi. And once again, they could do anything. Basically, install a rift, divide and rule, bribes, you name it. The difference now is that Assim Munir said no straight away, directly. Assim Munir usually does not say no to the President of the United States. This is very, very important for everybody. Assim Munir has Trump on speed dial and vice versa. They talk a lot, all the time. Trump asks favors to Assim Munir. And we reported here on Transition Protocol many times, endless phone calls from Trump to Assim Munir. Please get me enough RAM that is not very humiliating for me. Get the Iranians back on the table to talk. And Assim Munir and his team, they have been working, of course, they work like hell to try to get some sort of approximation, but it's impossible because the Americans blew up the MOU. By the way, I'm sorry to announce to all of you guys, the MOU cat is finally dead. And I'm not sure it's going to resuscitate now. This is it. And this is not a Netflix series. This is not Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's it. The cat is dead. And the Americans killed it. And the Iranians know it. And they knew it from the beginning. And even better, Mustafa Khamenei already knew, even before the cat was born, that the cat would die, killed by the Americans. So his point has been proven over and over again. So there is no possibility of diplomatic negotiations, even if it's signed as a memorandum of understanding by the President of the United States. Okay, coming back to Plan A. recruit Asim Munir to talk to Vahidi so the Americans have a direct channel to Vahidi. Asim Munir said no, because we are mediators, we Pakistan. And of course, this is a very sound position. If Pakistan is a mediator between Iran and the United States, they simply cannot convince the head of the IRGC to talk to the Americans on terms that are essentially favorable to the Americans. So, plan B was what? Resuscitate the Iraq Kurdistan Erbil channel, which was over there laying dormant, maybe fast asleep. But the channel was used already last May and it was there and they could use it again. But now there's an extra complication. And this is something that we still don't know for sure who the Americans were talking to in Erbil. Was it Nershivan, the president of Iraqi Kurdistan, or was it the prime minister of Iraqi Kurdistan? It's a completely different story. Also, a Barzani. This has not been established yet. What has been established is that the Americans try very hard to resuscitate the Iraqi Kurdistan Erbil channel to talk to Vahidi. And guess what? Vahidi himself, when he learned about it, informed by, of course, by the Iraqi Kurdistanis, no doubt about it. He also said, no, of course not. Because he understood right away what that was or is. The Americans trying to play divide and rule once again. And all that happened immediately. I would say that the concourse of circumstances was quite something, because this just happened as now Moshe Rezai is the top man, is the number two in the whole of Iran. He is basically saying, in an interview that he gave before he was appointed by the supreme leader, he said that now we're going on the offense. And now the talk in Iran among think tanks in Iranian media is that now the time for strategic patience is over. It's time to go on the offense. And sooner or later, we're going to have to teach the Americans a few lessons. So we are back on the escalation ladder all over again. And that's why, once again, the moment is very, very serious. But the most important, this Tom Clancy kind of circumstances regarding the Erbil channel is that the Americans tried a plan A. It did not work because Asim Munir said no. They tried a plan B via the Iraqi Kurdistanis, and Vahidi, when he learned about it, he also said no. So what do we see? We see possibilities open for the empire shrinking day after day. And that makes the empire even more dangerous. And that's why and how all of that connects to these extremely worrying discussions about the use of the normalization for the use of tactical nuclear weapons. Because this implies total desperation. Don't forget that we are dealing with a psychopath as president of the United States. There's no other. For instance, I received this week a fascinating Jungian study by a group in South Africa trying to understand how Trump thinks based on Jung. It's fascinating. I'm going to write a column about that. It's brilliant. But essentially, they don't add too much to what we already know. That this character is essentially a psychopath, and he molds everything according to his outsized ego. So we can have gradations of depth in terms of studying at how he does it, but the mechanism is always the same. And of course, apart from Jung, we could go back to Roy Cohn once again, because Trump's Jung, he never had a Freud, he never had a Jung, but he had a Roy Cohn. So he had a mafioso to tell him and explain to him how to think and how to make decisions. This is much, much, much worse, and it goes much deeper than a psychological study. It should be a mafioso study, or a study on the ways of the mafia applied by a mini mafioso, an aspiring tono soprano. That's what Donald Trump is, essentially. Well, it gets more dangerous by the minute. So we understand that they tried a plan A and a plan B in terms of back channels and a channel that already existed. Nothing worked. So what's their next step, or what could be their next step? The most terrifying, once again, a possibility is that they are already discussing the use of tactical nuclear weapons. It doesn't get more dangerous than that. And the fact that Iran already understood, even before all of that happened, that they have to go on the offense, it also tells us that the escalation ladder is practically inevitable, because the American blockade is hurting the Iranian economy. Any way you look at it, whatever, tracking Western, Eastern, Russian, Chinese, independent, non independent, it's hurting. They are exporting at best 300,000 barrels of oil a day, maybe, super optimistically 400,000. Before the blockade, they were exporting 1.5, 1.8, 2 million barrels a day. So, of course, they have many other channels overland. For if they are blockaded in naval terms, they are not blockaded overland. Today I just finished a column which will come out in Russia tonight, talking exactly about that. How the U.S., with whatever blockade and whichever way it's being implemented or not, or is just spent, they cannot isolate the networks that Iran enjoys overland, because Iran is an overland crossroads in Eurasia with all their neighbors, with connectivity corridors, the Caspian Sea, 6 or 7 different border crossings with Pakistan, railways with Central Asia, the railway from Iran across Central Asia to China. They have many, many options. Of course, it's not enough for them to supplement or at least to export as much oil as they did via the Strait of Hormuz, the Persian Gulf, the Gulf of Oman, etc. But it helps. So the economy is not being suffocated. And don't forget the ethics and the morals of resistance. This is a proud civilization state that can be suffocated to death. They will never give up. And one may assume people with an IQ over 10 in the Beltway or in the White House, they are finally figuring out that there's no way to make Iran fold. Hence, discussion about tactical nuclear weapons, which is where we are now. So, consider this, let's say, an introduction to the information that we have, including all the information that we have in detail about the Americans trying the Plan A and Plan B and both failures, and why all that is directly linked to the fact that they see not many options ahead. So they may as well go for something inadmissible, unthinkable, but unthinkable still until today. Maybe tomorrow it won't be anymore. So hang tight. We are at razor's edge again. Mr. Z, please take it away.
Well, excellent summation of extraordinary news. Excellent summation of extraordinary news, and that's why I'm so proud that you are here. I'm so honored that you're here, because we provide you with information from people who are at the table in decision-making centers, not only in Islamabad but also in Tehran. And this particular news, I am very confident, is not available to mainstream media. Even if it was, they would never report it, or they would mischaracterize it. It's not available to independent media because they have no access. But we are proudly presenting it to our global audience through you, because we are honored and privileged with the trust that they have in us to give us this kind of news. So the person who gave me this news is at the decision center. He said that Vahidi was outraged. I mean,
Outrage.
that's the exact word.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah, he said Vahidi was outraged, and he told this Kurdish guy, whoever it was, that never again can you come to me with this kind of proposition. You're asking me to be a traitor. Exact words. So Iran is that solidly behind their leadership. The entire leadership is unified. Now, I also heard, and you did not discuss it, and I will discuss it then, that they are prepared for a nuclear strike. Not that they want it, obviously, but they are saying to themselves that we will endure a nuclear strike, but in retaliation, we will wipe out wherever the center of geography, wherever this strike comes to us. It could be Israel. It could be American warships. Who knows where this comes from? If it comes, into Iran for devastation, but they are prepared. And this source also told me that they are days away from enabling nuclear capability that will sit on top of their extraordinarily precise long range missiles that they have acquired, that they have developed further themselves. So, if Trump, in his psychopathic rampage, because he is now a totally cornered rat that does not have any way to get out, really, no way to get out, and he's just cornered, uh, goes on the nuclear option, and God forbid people around him enable that, the world is not going to be the same. I mean, this guy is going to destroy the routes through which 25% of the world's oil reaches the rest of us, and all the fertilizer that goes to the global south, the helium that goes to IC manufacturing organizations, and God knows what else. So we are in a very dangerous place right now. Very, very dangerous place. Yesterday on our show, our our colleague, our founding member Larry Johnson was talking about the storm before a tsunami, and and this is really where
Mhm.
we see this. Asim Munir, very close to the power centers, described it to me through an intermediary that he told Trump that he was out of his mind, exact words, to even ask him to contact Vahidi. He said, "I will never be invited back again in Iran if I ever did that." So
Of course. Of course.
these guys are out of their mind.
No, and they have no. It's much worse, Mr. Z, because they have no strategy, and they make it up as they go along, without analyzing the consequences, without analyzing. If you play divide and rule with a foreign government, how this is going to overspill all across the region. They have no qualms in utilizing third parties or forced parties to get what they think they want, and they don't even know what they want. They want essentially an Iranian capitulation. Now, some people are starting to understand that they will never going to happen. So they want to force Iran into a capitulation. That's also not going to happen. So what's left? To destroy it, which, by the way, is what they did with Syria. They practically destroyed Syria until Syria came to a point was it was very easy for those throat slitters and head choppers congregated in Idlibistan in the north to take Aleppo and then take the rest of the country. It was ripe for them. The country did not exist. The apparatus of state in Syria had ceased to exist. So they dream of something like that happening in Iran. But to get there, there's no Syrian scenario. There's only one way to get there. And that's why we're having these terrifying discussions about tactical nuclear weapons. If let's not even talk about it as a fact. If this would happen, this would obliterate both sides of the Persian Gulf, by the way.
Absolutely.
And the idea, as perverse as, and it makes sense, the perversity of it all makes sense. This might be part of the plan to, eliminate life on both sides of the Persian Gulf. So then the empire gets rid of the problem, the whole problem. And the possibilities, the permutations that we can have in terms of perverse scenarios are infinite, considering the malevolence, the inner malevolence, the intrinsic malevolence of the whole imperial system, the fact that they are cornered, the fact that they have absolutely nothing to counterpoint against this strategic partnership of Iran, Russia, and China. The fact that they are losing two wars at the same time, the same war in two different battlefields, the proxy war in Ukraine and the war against Iran. So this leads a dwindling empire led by a bunch of absolutely stupid people on a very, very dangerous road ahead. And it affects all of us, in fact. And when you, all of us who, for professional reasons, who have to pay a little bit of attention to US mainstream media, there's no serious discussion about that whatsoever. Not to mention the rest of the collective fragmented West. Of course not. Once again, when you normalize a genocide, there are no limits, literally. So now the campaign to normalize another nuclear attack unprovoked is already on. Terrible, absolutely terrible.
Well,
And forgive me for being very straightforward with all of you. There's no spin. We cannot spin that. It's impossible to spin that. The seriousness of the moment. And the better we have access to this kind of intel or privileged information, which basically unveils their moves and unveils their moves at playing divide and rule, trying to basically bribe or seduce members of government, etc. This is their modus, the classic modus operandi, etc.
well, let me add
Mr.
a
Z,
couple of
go ahead.
couple of other points that we have not discussed, and those are again from our sources that all of the Gulf countries have some sense of this desperation that Trump
Yeah,
is in, and they have all told Trump, "You try anything like this, you will never, never, never step foot in our part of the world ever again." If he does anything even remotely like this. Additionally, our sources report that Tehran is prepared. I mean, they are
yeah,
prepared to sustain this kind of an attack, but they are determined to wipe out Israel because Israel is at the heart of all this. So Israel is
absolutely.
not going to survive this. I have no idea whether Trump, in his stupidity, in his stupor of malignant, narcissistic stupidity, even understands this, which I don't think he does. So I'm shocked. I'm shocked that the mainstream media is not more aware of this. I'm really shocked. And
They cannot make this easy. When we know how U.S. mainstream media works, they are stenographers, hagiographers, and they follow orders. And independent journalism and investigative journalism in American mainstream media has been that for a long, long time.
totally correct. And that is the reason I'm here, despite the fact that I have extraordinary pain in my back. I had surgery only Friday, six specific holes inside my spine. But I'm here. I'm working at night when those capitals are open because I believe in the cause. I was a student during the Vietnam era. I saw the lies, constant lies, and how that eventually came down. So if I can play a small role, thanks to people like yourself who can explain this to a growing global audience, maybe we can reach some people who can begin to understand how horrible the leadership is, not only in the United States but in the Western world as a whole. How horrible, how completely, you know, morally decayed they are to not even comprehend what is going on. And if you can play a small role in educating people so that they understand it, I believe that's a worthy cause. So before we
Mr. C,
conclude, yes,
yeah, before you wrap up, a very specific question, according to the best information that we have from your sources and our mediator sources. The role of Pakistan as mediator now is gone. It has been blown up by the Americans themselves, right?
right, right, and not only that, not only that. Uh, everybody must understand that this role was principally played by Asim Munir, who is widely respected uh, in Pakistani military establishment, which is very powerful, and in the neighboring countries. That he has soured, really soured on Trump. He had hopes. He was hopeful when the MOU was being negotiated, and he was very active. But now he has soured. I mean, directly from the source himself, actually. So I, will spill those beans. Uh, Very sour, not happy because he sees the writing on the wall.
Yes, but this is it adds to the terrifying scenario because the Americans essentially now they are not even rely on the mediators so far. Not only Pakistan but also Qatar and Oman. The psycho toddler, actually threatened to bomb Oman on the record
Yes,
twice already.
yes, yes,
So
yes.
they are not interested in talking to anybody or to any mediating party. And that, once again, terrifying. That leaves only an extreme solution. And this is what is being discussed at the White House from now on. An extreme solution.
Because he's cornered. He's got nowhere to go. I mean, we heard rumblings in the media a week ago, 10 days ago, that Trump was not happy with Asim Munir. So Trump wanted to go to Qatar, Trump wanted to go to Oman, and anybody else. And the Iranians said, when Qataris and Omanis approached on behalf of Trump, they said, no, 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 no. We have only one mediator. Talk to Asim Munir. I mean, we reported that on this channel. So Trump came back to Asim Munir. But Asim Munir at this time was not going to entertain Trump. He was not going to put up with his bullshit. So he said, "Listen, you want to go back to where things were? Go back to the MOU. That's it."
Is that which, which is what everybody has been saying over and over again? The Chinese,
Yes,
the Pakistanis, everybody in the GCC. Yeah.
yes. So he tried to run around Asim Munir. He tried to find another channel, even trying to induce, according to Vahidi, treason. Wahidi's words. I can report to everybody. These are exact Wahidi's words. You want me to be a traitor? Don't talk to me ever again. Exact words. And we
Of
are
course,
honored to report that.
they cannot because if they wanted to talk to anybody, you have to be with Moshe Rezai. Moshe Rezai has absolutely no interest in talking to the Trump administration. So
None.
that's it. So exactly.
None.
So now we have a, it's a wall facing a wall now.
Yes.
Dialogue and diplomatic overtures, they at the moment they vanished, and in a matter of only a few days.
Well, I
And
mean,
worse, they those grifters and cronies around Trump, they actually believe that they can squeeze the Iranian economy and Iran's finances. Obviously, they don't know how Shiites think and survive. They have no clue whatsoever, right? And of course, the network of connections in Iran across Eurasia. Uh, Something is going to happen next month in, yeah, a little less than a month from now. The BRICS Summit in New Delhi. So obviously, none of us are betting on anything productive coming out of this BRICS Summit. But very important, Iran, China, and uh, Russia will be there. The three presidents will be there. So we can have Putin, Xi, and Pezeshkian discussing in detail a concerted move from now on. This is very, very important. Forget about India. India is completely out of the picture. Another, an extra problem, the Emirates are going to be there as well. Will the Emirates be discussing with the triad, the three musketeers, Iran, Russia, and China, some sort of accommodation, including the Emirates? Consider the Emirates a few days ago, they started to make their first moves trying to have some sort of accommodation with Iran, much earlier than many of us were expecting it. So it's possible that, let's say, the sidelines of the BRICS meeting next month may produce something slightly less terrifying than the road that is ahead of us now.
well, also on a slightly positive note, the big 21-person delegation from Tehran is still scheduled to arrive in Islamabad
When?
for
Is
extensive.
there a date? Is there a
Uh,
date? No, not
they
yet.
expect to announce a date within a couple of days, but it is coming for sure, for sure. Galibaf will be there, the number three man. Arakchi will be there. We do not know if possession is going to be there, and is blessed by the supreme leader, and is blessed by Mohsen Rezai. So
Of
Pakistan
course.
has
This
emerged
very
as very
important, Mr.
yes,
This can only happen when Mohsen Rizai says yes. This means
yes,
that he keeps a tiny window of diplomacy still open.
very tiny, very tiny. But
Very tiny.
yeah, but on the other side of it, Pakistan and Iran are going to be integrated economically. They're not going to care about the sanctions or nonsense or noise coming out of Besant's mouth. Besant has really disgraced himself, totally disgraced himself uh, by keeping on announcing that we're going to impose these sanctions and those sanctions and sanctions that nobody has ever seen. Iran says, get lost. Essentially, that's a message from Iran: get lost, and they don't care. So this integration is going to happen. China totally behind Pakistan and Iran. So I have no idea where this cornered rat is going to go. I mean, the MOU cat is dead. The cornered rat is still running around. You are a great observer of geopolitics over 3 decades, Pepe. Where do you think this cornered rat is going to go?
We don't know, but once again, to wrap it up from my side, it's terrifying, especially these past few days, because there are no remaining diplomatic channels open. The Americans managed to destroy all of them. That's why it's so terrifying. Well, okay, it's We expect that because they don't do diplomacy, and especially this administration, they don't even know the meaning of diplomacy. But
Well,
all the work over these past 60 days, during the famous 60-day period of the MOU, which, by the way, finished yesterday, and nothing happened. Of course, because they didn't even started talking.
that's a
So
hubris, Pepe.
yes,
Hubris.
yes, it is hubris, but it creates the visuals for the whole global south. In fact, is it's not worth even to try to talk to them, because the mere possibility of diplomacy and of sitting on the same table with your adversary, your enemy, etc., for them is out of the question. So
Well, we need to
it's
wrap it up.
yeah, and to wrap it all up, uh, this essentially new strategy, Iranian strategy, which is now okay, let's go on the offense, it makes total sense. They finally understood that is okay, we tried everything in the diplomatic sphere. We knew from the beginning it would not work. Confirmed, it did not work. So we have to go on the offense. So they are certainly preparing a few surprises for the Americans. There's no question about that. And the problem is, this will only, the escalation ladder will only keep going up, unfortunately. Okay, that's my wrap up. Thanks.
Well, thank you for the extraordinary depth of analysis. We will be back here tomorrow with our friend and colleague, founding member of this channel, Larry Johnson, for his military perspective. We will have some updates. Hopefully, they are in the positive light rather than the negative light. Thank you very much for being our very, very loyal, very appreciative global audience. We appreciate you. Please help us continue to deliver this news by going to our Substack channel. $5 a month will bring this quality of analysis inside your mailbox. We shall see you tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Cheers. Thanks.